Talking is more than just words having make sense in a sentence, but can be a channel of change. And prayer requires talking. So prayer can be a channel of change in a person's life. Looking at this book called Atomic Habits, written by James Clear, he writes, "All big things come from small beginnings, and the seed of every habit is a single tiny decision." Prayer, it's a shift of mindsets and can be a platform for experience and a source of healing. As a student of psychology, one of the clearest ways of studying people is by looking at their actions and their attitudes. And prayer is an action. It can be a place of adjustments, a place of reflection, and just bring overall peace. So looking at multiple studies, one of them is looking at distinguishing between whether prayer is a psychological or a spiritual experience only. But prayer can be a place where both meet. It's been used in multiple recovery and healing programs because it can have a great effect on people's lives. Seeing at the impact daily prayer has had in my life, and also in the life of my mom who was battling cancer, it was amazing to see the power of prayer in that time, but it came from the habit of prayer. Speaking of health, in a study done by Chris Kirk and Rhonda Lewis in Wichita State University in 2013, over 600 young adults were surveyed. It looked at the impact of the prayer on their risky and aggressive behaviors. So it found that an increase of prayer brought a decrease in aggressive and risky behavior. And this was looking at multiple habits, whether that was attendance of a certain service or the reading of certain scriptures or just regular prayer or just prayer. It showed great results because prayer is an evaluation of what truly matters to a person. So it was found that prayer not only changed the person beforehand, but also in the moment. Seeing how prayer can impact the lives of young adults can show that the attitudes and actions of a person can be changed through a simple habit. Prayer can look like all kinds of things. It can look like either grabbing a rosary and praying a certain prayer, or talking while driving, or finding a mat and facing a certain direction. Prayer can look like all kinds of things, but the results are it can lead to a calmer mind and just a reminder that you are alive. But that brings in the question about whether it's purely a psychological or spiritual experience. So research done in Hong Kong by Hui and his research team in 2015, they were looking at the difference between psychological and religious experiences. So now a little background. The origin of the word psych in psychology means soul. So to study someone's soul means to look at the brain's observable patterns in connection with the ideas and internal motives of a person. So now, looking at different experiences, and they wanted to see if prayer was simply a practice of religious requirement and if it had any real effect on the person at all. So the research was given to the research survey was given to over 6,200 participants, most of them in Hong Kong. And it reported that the data was found that religious and spiritual experiences, as the more they were practiced, such as reading of certain scriptures or attending services or prayer, it was found that prayer was a consistent practice that deepened faith, and it would all start from the habit and the psychological shift to improvement into habit forming. So the survey that they gave out was not just a look into prayer or actions, but also looked at the impact it had on their lives overall. And it, just like it did on the research earlier, it showed that it improved sleep, it improved mood, and just the overall quality of life was improved. Prayer was just a consistent finding that was seen all over the studies of different religions, of different backgrounds, from all kinds of faiths. And it's an experience of both psychological and spiritual value. Just like in the body, when the body is positioned a certain way, whether that is being on your knees, which means more receptivity or more submission, or your palms facing up, that can lead to more receptivity to whatever is being given. That's both a psychological and a spiritual action. And so now, seeing how prayer can lead to changes in a person's life, it can also lead to a place of healing in a person's life. Looking at a majority of recovery programs and rehabilitation programs with 12-step processes, typically prayer is an essential part of this process. Recovery programs such as AA or grief group therapy see the power of community and prayer together. Recovering addicts find that through prayer, restoration is possible. And also, talking about what is happening can bring relief. And talking about it through prayer can be a form of dependency that is always available. Unlike the substances that they once were attached to, now they have something that's always available. For example, like my way of praying is typically me just sitting down and crossing my arms, because this is where I had an experience with God that changed both my thoughts, my actions, my attitudes, truly everything in my life. And that's found in the lives of recovering addicts. Prayer, it's impacted so many lives in big and in small ways. This practice of prayer has shown transformation in young adults with anger issues and people with treatment for their addictions, and even in the curious minds of scientific researchers. So if you hate change, then prayer might not be for you. But when change comes your way, and it will, you know where to go. The small habit of practicing prayer can be a seed of change in a person's life. Prayer transforms perspective, creates opportunity for profound experience, and it can bring about healing. Prayer is a practice of reflection and asking, listening. Prayer is a common practice in many faiths, and it can deepen spirituality and change lifestyle. Prayer is a tool for rehabilitation in a hurting world. Thank you for listening.